Marcellus, how are you?
Oh, I'm great, man. Much respect, brother.
Yeah, same to you. Really, just super pumped you'd spend a few minutes with us here. Especially,
Absolutely.
what's interesting to me, and I guess I just want to start with you talking about the Chargers, just because I know, looking back at your career, you spent some really good time with the Chargers, like some of your most successful time. And I'm just curious, as somebody who played there, and all my friends either that have either played in the league or played at some level, they always go, it's the Chargers. What happens? They just expect things to happen because was that when you were there? Was that also how it felt? Like, we're the Chargers. Things just don't work out our way.
No, I don't think it's that way anywhere. No matter how lowly the franchise is, no matter how much they get tripped up in their pursuit of excellence, I think that's a summation. I think that's what we look back and label as, and sometimes look forward and project, but you don't in the moment feel that way at all. Like I was on teams that was 4-12, 5-11, and every year I thought we were going to win the Super Bowl. You go into that season thinking that. What happens with the Chargers, I think, more than anything, is there were some convenient excuses. Like I was on a team with LT, Drew Brees, Junior Seau, Rodney Harrison, but at different times. An older Junior, older Rodney, a young baby, wet behind the ears, LT, Drew Brees. It didn't add up. But what happens in those moments is it's too convenient to say it's the Chargers. Why? Sunshine and pretty city and so many other things to do and options. And are they really focused? Like we got to be from the Northeast to really be dedicated to football. So I think the labeling is probably what it is. But look, the Bulls used to be, oh my God, the Bulls. Now they're sputtering. The Lakers used to be, oh my God, the Lakers. Now they're sputtering. It's not about the culture. It's about the players and what they're going to do.
Chargers had four wide receivers missing this last week, and they played San Francisco pretty tight. I mean, half they were still in it. It wasn't until the end of the game when the 49ers pulled away. Do you feel like the Chargers are trending up? Can they still win some games? Maybe even make the playoffs?
Definitely can make the playoffs. I think they're treading water right now, despite them having a better record than I think people expect with all the injuries. Like the talent level, if they would have stayed healthy, people would have been thinking they should have the record like the Eagles or the Giants. But with all these injuries, you expected a lot less, but they found themselves in position fourth quarters and fought through a lot of games. They couldn't fight off the 49ers because the 49ers finally woke up. 49ers walked into that game 3-4 new starters coming back off injury. You're looking around, you're saying, okay, we're back. We're fully loaded. Let's go out there and go do it. You got Debo back. And I think that they thought since the Chargers were limping and they were fresh, that it was just going to come a little easier. And it took them a while to get their traction. But yeah, I think the Chargers still a playoff team for sure.
Josh McDaniels this morning in the news because, well, everybody that's not a part of the organization is screaming on Twitter to fire him in his first season there in Vegas. What do you take from this Vegas team where even Devontae Adams is like, hey, not everybody's bought in? And is that a McDaniels thing, and does he make it through the year?
He should make it through the year. Like, I don't give a damn how bad it gets out there. You got to give a guy at least one revolution to see how this thing can apply itself and take hold. I don't like that they're leaking. I don't like that they're all right now in this projection of how much I really care. It's like a projection of passion. I care the most, so I'm going to go to the podium and I'm going to cry, or I'm going to say I'm more dedicated than you guys are. And that's the issue right now, that they're not level. They're not even. They're not a team. Like guys are really jockeying to just demonstrate that they care more. When if you're on the team, the way to demonstrate that is ball out of control and shut up. That's all we need right now, is just to see guys go out there and play closer to perfection than trying to project like they're perfect.
Is that every locker room, though, when you're a professional, that some guys buy in, some guys kind of do, and some guys are just getting checked?
Oh, absolutely. And that's why are you speaking of this like it's abnormal? Like, that there's some guy who's like, yeah, I know our base coverages, but everything else, that's on you. Help me out. Or I'm not playing. So what's the point? Like on any team, everyone doesn't contribute at the same level. You never expect that. If so, everyone would get paid the same and everybody would be expected to do the same. So when it comes out of the locker room, that's when the issue becomes for everyone else to consume, when that should be internal. That should stay in house. And these guys are leaking right now.
Saturday is 1-0, coaching the Colts. Now, they did beat the Raiders. What is your take now on Jeff Saturday with the Colts?
My take is the same as it was when he got hired. I didn't understand all the outcry. Now, people were conflating Jeff Saturday being a head coach with the hiring process is flawed. You can have that conversation independent of Jeff Saturday, but every hiring process is flawed. Do you want to know why? Relationships, desire. Like, trust me, my kids right now behind me, whatever daddy has, you stand in line, it's yours next. Versus some kid who went to Columbia with 3 degrees and amazing resume and internships. Good for him. He behind my son. It's like relationships matter. In this situation, Jeff Saturday not only had tremendous success, the ultimate success, a Super Bowl champion with that uniform on, has the tremendous relationship with the owners, knows the ups and downs of that organization, knows where all the bodies are buried, and has tremendous respect anytime he's around the Indianapolis Colts. Maybe that's the guy that can get something out of these guys versus the traditional coach who has failed forward to become a coordinator, who finally has a top 10 offense or defense, who becomes a head coach and struggles. Like zigs sometimes when everyone else zags. And that's all he wanted, Jeff Saturday, was an opportunity. And so far, so good.
What about Matt Ryan? Because they had said that they weren't going to play him because they didn't want him to get hurt and they have to pay him all this money. And he busted one for like 60 yards or on foot. Old man Matt Ryan flying. I use that word loosely, but he's playing again. So am I to assume that it didn't come from Irsay? They didn't want Ryan playing because of contract, that it came from Frank Reich in that system before?
No, I think it did come with Irsay's approval. It had to some degree, but that's the point of a Jeff Saturday who has a relationship and has the jackhammer that can kind of bust up the concrete. And the concrete said, hey, Matt Ryan's stuck. Matt Ryan is done. We're protecting our money and we're not going to invest in anymore in Matt Ryan. But when you have that relationship, Jeff Saturday, it's like the person that walks up to you after your 3rd, 4th drink versus somebody cold walks up to you when you first walk in the party. Like, you're going to get a different me. You get a different Jim Irsay when you got Jeff Saturday talking. It's the 3rd, 4th drink, Jim Irsay. And he's like, so what do you think? He's like, what do you think? And what do you think? And then Jeff is like, yo, we can't win any other way. Let's go. And he's like, all right. So that's what this is about. I wish people will look at the human capital and how it played itself in this situation in totality. That's a Jeff Saturday nudging on his boss, nudging on his friend.
I think you bring up a great point with just the word human, right? And us as fans, we watch and we just see these gladiators, machines who we like. We want them to score touchdowns for our team. You played, you were that to us. And that being said, you are humans. And I'm not talking about Brady specifically, but I think an example here of a lot of people assuming Brady was struggling because of what he was going through personally. And I'm not asking you about that specific situation, but you know that these players are real life humans and they're going through hard times. Were there games in your career where a big player was struggling with something personal and you knew that, and it was like, we got to make sure to pick him up because he's not going to be the 100% version of what he normally is?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been that player as well. Needed somebody to kind of align my focus back onto the task at hand. It's crazy because even if you're fully focused, there are no guaranteed results. There are no guaranteed successful results. And even if you're distracted, it's not a guarantee that you're going to fail in those games. It's crazy because there's just always in every game, in every play, a moment of truth. Did you execute or not? And a lot of times we want to look into that for deeper motivation and deeper understandings. Oh, it's because, his parents passed away. Oh, it's because he's going through a divorce. But we've seen those guys fail and succeed in the same circumstance and vice versa. Some guys going through a divorce ball out of control because the weight is lifted. It's final. We finally admitted what we've been suffering through for the last 6 years, whatever that may be. So I am never the one to say that is the reason this occurred, because Tom Brady could have been having marital problems for a few years. Who knows? They say in every relationship, no matter how long it is, you spend half the time breaking up. So if you've been together 10 years, the last 5 years, we starting to land this plane, honey. We starting to wind down this road, right? So Tom Brady could have won a Super Bowl fully distracted with marital problems. We don't know that. So let's not map it on retroactively because now we know they're divorced.
What about like an injury that somebody's not sharing and it's pretty bad and they don't want it to be known?
Yeah, I mean, look, like the craziest thing is it's opportunity out there and there's an opportunity cost. And you never want to play around with your starting opportunity because what happens is very few guys have it like no matter what I do, very few, no matter what I do, I'm good. Like everyone is always in that line of coaching and general managers are thinking, is there a cheaper, younger version? Like as soon as you get your money, we say it in the locker room, as soon as you get paid, congratulations. You know they upstairs trying to figure out how to get it back. And that's how it goes. So in this situation, you're injured, you're trying to play that off. Concussions. I know a lot of conversation about concussions. Guys lie on the concussion protocol test because who wants to lose their opportunity? No one wants to get Wally pipped. So yeah, I've been that guy before. Like, I'm fine, coach, I'm good. Inside, I'm thinking, damn, I can't even walk. But I got this injection, I got this shot, I got this craziness going on. The music is pumping, I'm pumped. The culture, the pressure, all these dynamics is going to get me through these next 3 hours. But was I ready for that moment? Absolutely not. But am I going to give up on it? Absolutely not.
I want to talk about being ready for a second. And so I do one of like the radio show that I do every day is in a couple hundred cities, and it's a thing. But each night I set aside time, and each morning I set aside time, a couple hours here, a couple hours there, or if I'm doing stand-up on the weekends, I'm spending time writing. Whatever I'm doing, I dedicate an amount of time that I think is sufficient to doing a good job, putting a good work out so I can make my money, right? That's what we're all doing.
Yeah.
Now, some nights, let's say my wife and I decide to go to dinner and I don't get to do as much prep or reading the news as much, and then I go in and I'm like, whoa, I'm just going to have to skate through this one because I didn't. Now, does that happen week to week with you guys where you're supposed to watch a whole lot of film and maybe you do 13 weeks, but there's a couple you're like, oh, I didn't get to as much of it as I should, so I'm just going to hope this works out?
Yeah, absolutely. There are times, I mean, if there's a uniform standard of traditional prep time of 15 hours, are there weeks when it's 12 hours? Absolutely. Are there weeks when it's 17? Absolutely. And you ride the wave. And one thing you have to always be is the ultimate justifier. And you also got to be your biggest cheerleader. So if you're ill prepared for the game, you got to start lying to yourself. Nah, today we playing on instinct. Today we playing off of just what we playing off what we see. You know, you got to start justifying and lying to yourself because you know you're not ready for that moment. And it's the same thing in our world, in any endeavor. If you walk in the door and you don't feel it, you got to find it from somewhere else. And usually it's between those ears.
Talking about injuries a second ago, when a player comes back from an injury, it obviously doesn't mean he's 100% back. And when Dak came back, I think a lot of Cowboy fans, and I'm surrounded by them, they're like, Dak's back, baby, let's go. We're about to roll. And I think game one, we saw him not roll completely. And, you know, we're, 3 weeks into this now of him being back. Is Dak healthy in Europe? Is that injury, just as you know the injury, we don't have to go to Dak specifically, but is that injury probably at a place now where he should be fully healthy, or you would be fully healthy if you had it?
No, not fully healthy. Not like Dak was the second before the injury occurred. And to me, that's fully healthy. And it's not just because structurally you're fully healthy in terms of physical injury, but mentally your structure is right now not compromised. Think about the moment before Dak got hurt. He's reckless. He's mindless. He's just out there feeling it. He's in the zone. He has the glow, whatever it may be. You're just playing the game. I'm not thinking about my thumb. Now, Dak Prescott throws a pass and he does the self-check. You know, he's doing this. You know, Dak Prescott throws an errant pass. You know, he's flicking the wrist and the thumb like, you're all good. Like, you're thinking of something else outside of the task in front of you. And that's when you know you're not fully healthy. And a lot of people don't really consume this part of rehabilitation. They usually just think about physically. If I'm good, if I could do what I used to do, I'm fine. But do you trust yourself? Do you go to the sixth gear? Do you go pedal to the metal in all endeavors? And right now, I don't think Dak Prescott's there right now. And I don't expect him to be there right now. But as this season progresses, ultimately he should be there.
Like I strained a hamstring. Let me say it again. I lightly strained a hamstring. I barely lightly strained a hamstring, and I still go pretty hard. And now I've never been the athlete that you are, but was an okay athlete. And I would do sprints every day at the beginning and end of my workout. I still, even though it's been 3 months, I don't have the mental part of it to just open it up again because I only lightly strained my hamstring. So I can't imagine an ACL, MCL tear and having to go back and you're having to push off that. So the mental part, it seems like it would be more difficult than the physical part sometimes.
Yeah, and you're right on it. That's what it is. It's like when you have the injury, that's a physical element that's going to get processed mentally. And through that process, you're going to, first of all, feel pain because that's what it is. Hey, something alert, something's wrong. Okay, shut it down. Let's send some blood flow. Let's get this thing right. Okay, we're good. Couple weeks, couple months, whatever it may be. Now, upstairs, you still been calcified, brother. Upstairs, you still been hardened to think there's some pain there. And you have to really start to make that go away over time through process, through mental conditioning, through trust. I always go back to that. You got to trust yourself to jump off the cliff again. And when you have the hammy or the thumb, you don't fully commit to it. You're like, I'm going to go 90%, 91, 92. Oh, I'm still okay. I'm not hurt. And you keep doing that till you finally get to 100. But there are building blocks, man, and it takes a minute.
What do you think about Josh Allen and what's happening in Buffalo right now?
Trying to be Superman. And you got to remember, you just got to be a man, not a Superman. It's to do all the big things in this world. To do anything big, you got to do the little things.
I got 3 final questions for you. The first one's going to be the Vikings. What's their ceiling?
Great point. Their ceiling, they feel like one of those Tennessee year conference championship losers. Like, oh, we're there. But they have the elements. They have the tripod, if you will, of a Dalvin Cook running back, Justin Jefferson receiver, Kirk Cousins at quarterback. I think it all rides on Kirk Cousins, but this feels like one of those good stories, and they look perfect from far, but far from perfect. So they got it all, and they keep finding ways. And then it's going to catch up to them because the margin of error is too slim for this team.
When you're growing up and you are the athlete that you are and also the person who is dedicated to being a better athlete, at what point did your ability catch up with you having to actually put in a bunch of time preparing? I was a really smart kid. Once I got to about my second year of college, I was like, I now got to study. I can't just go off straight what I can pick up. When did that happen to you where I've been a great athlete my whole life, but now I got to do extra to make sure I can stay elite?
Yeah, I think that funnel starts from the day you really play sports. Like I started when I was 8 years old. And at 8 years old, all you have to do to play football and be good is be fast. Like every fast 8-year-old is an MVP. Like there's no slow for 8-year-olds that are like out there balling. Like you're gonna get caught. Like these dudes are just it's too simple a game. But as the game gets more complex, then you have to grow with it in its complexities, right? So for me, I would say late high school, even though I still was beasting. I started to realize like you just can't wake up, put on the house shoes, and then ball out of control. Like there will be resistance, and I'm gonna have to start outmaneuvering people, outthinking people. Just can't always outrun everyone. Geometry comes into play. These cats are starting to take better angles, coach. These guys are starting to run to the ball collectively. Like you can start to see where the chess match is being introduced to the game. So it happens step by step. But I would say late high school, certainly college, even though I went to an Ivy League school, it wasn't just grab everyone like I was Thor and just throw them across the field. Like I had to do things with my mind and body in combination. And then the pros. Every single player in the pros, they're a black belt. It's just what degree of black belt are they? Even the sorriest dude who never gets playing time, who's on the practice squad, is a black belt. Just what degree?
When you look at quarterbacks and where they're taken in the draft, and the top 2 or 3 will go to the worst teams usually, I'll even say programs, institutions. when you were playing, what quarterback did you see that probably was wasted because he went to a bad organization? And you're lined up and you're like, God damn, this guy's actually could be really good, but everything around him is not, and he was not able to flourish because of that.
Carson Palmer keeps coming to mind, but he did flourish. But I was like, yo, Carson Palmer's a monster and not getting his proper due. And then he got hurt in the one playoff year and game that I thought they really could do something. So someone who didn't get their full bouquet of flowers was Carson Palmer. I was like, that dude's a monster. But he's in Cincinnati, and they're trying to figure it out. And then they get the receivers and Chad and TJ. And like they did something, but they didn't really do what they could have done in a different situation. Carson Palmer comes to mind. Outside of him, man, I'm drawing a blank, man. A lot of cats, you can play at quarterback through the expectation ceiling, like of a team. If the team is tapered here, like you're right here, but you're that quarterback, you can drag that team to higher levels. But there is going to be a point of exhaustion and a point where it can't go any further. But Carson Palmer's the guy for me.
Like Matt Stafford is somebody that I think about. If he never would have got out of Detroit, he was never going to win a championship. And, you know, the Stafford now, I mean, imagine if a healthy, young Stafford, a Stafford that you still could mold, because at this point, he is who he is. But imagine a young Stafford went to, out of Georgia, goes to a great program that can actually develop him. Like, I think we probably missed a little bit there because he was in Detroit for so long. But I just wonder, again, you've done it at the highest level for so many years. Hey, the podcast is more to it. So what are you talking about constantly? Like because I do listen, by the way, but if to people that are listening to this, what are they going to hear when they come over and listen?
Oh, appreciate you and the listen. More to it is we're talking about sports, entertainment, culture, to athletes, about entertainers, influential people. And what we're trying to find out is there's more to every single story, the life lessons and experiences that come through watching sports or watching anyone in this world in terms of the hot button issues. So we're always trying to go deeper than the surface level and find out what's the motivation, what is really happening in that emotional state that is contributing to that success.
Marcellus, I'm a big fan. Listen to you. Love it. Just super pumped that you were able to come on. And just thanks, man. Follow at Marcellus Wiley. And thank you again and keep it up. And, you know, I'll be there. I'll be a fan quietly in the corner like I have been for a while.
Oh, my man, Bones. You keep it going, brother. Tremendous success.
All right, Marcellus. See you, man. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, brother.